from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased. Joining me, Sebastian Gierlinger. Sebastian, thank you very much for joining the show here today. The way I love to do it, as I was explaining to you, is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. But before this, I like to give teaser for the audience. So Sebastian is the VP of Engineering as Storyblok, and he gonna tell us, some cool stuff about CMS and some other topics maybe in DevOps and in AI and all what's happening. So without further ado, Sebastian, the floor is yours. So tell us more about you and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, well, thank you for the invitation. As you already said, I'm here at Storyblok as VP of Engineering, and most of the technical roles at Storyblok report to me. So we have product development, product management, product design. We have a separate team that deals with website and developer experience. And we have an infrastructure team that is also among my reports. What is Storyblok doing? Storyblok is a headless content management system. That means that we only offer the backend services, so the user interface for adding content to the system, an API layer, and the customers, in the most cases, developers, are free to implement a front end, whatever they like. So we have, I would say, about 80% websites that are being implemented using our content management system, but there's also a growing part of special applications like mobile applications, applications that feed data into some IoT systems. And nowadays, of course, you also have to accommodate for AI systems. So this is also a growing sector where we are feeding content to. So you can imagine classic CMS, but without the front end. So you can choose whatever you would like, and we build everything that makes it performant, easy to use, and connected.
Great. And thank you again, Sebastian, for being here with me today. The traditional question, when you talk about, kind of this shift, from traditional ways to modernize a new concept, what's like the biggest mindset shift, as engineering teams need also to make for moving from legacy to composable architectures?
So legacy systems are normally all the different things come from the same vendor. You buy it once, you choose a certain technology, and then everything works in the same ways over a longer period of time. When you look more into the composable architecture, into the headless architecture, it becomes, I would say, a little bit more complicated from an architectural perspective, because we are following a best of breed approach. And when you, for example, buy then a headless CMS system, that also means that you need to find the perfect hosting solution for you. You need to find the perfect front-end solution for you. You need to find the perfect shop solution for you. So it's not everything out of one piece anymore. It's different systems, and you have to run different vendor processes, and therefore it becomes a little bit more complicated when you assemble everything. On the other hand, you have the great benefit of getting the best systems that you can find. You are able to choose whatever you would like. And in my opinion, the biggest benefit of this composable architecture is you are not locked in on the day when you sign the first contract. So if there is a new front-end technology that comes out in, for example, 2 years, you are free to choose this new technology, and you are not locked in with the technology that you chose today. And that's, in my opinion, a really big benefit. And it also makes vendor selection a lot easier. So you can say today, hey, I'm choosing this headless system because I know that I can adapt to whatever is going to happen in the next years.
Great. I like the way you explained in a very simple way, yet it's important. Now, Sebastian, Storyblok, and this we hear this term. So I was researching, uh, it's so-called developer first platform. So
Yeah.
when we hear the word, developer first, what exactly we mean? Because I know the answer, of course, but I like to highlight this from an expert like yourself, because sometimes we hear founders or engineers saying, "Hey, like I have this developer first in mind." And some people get confused, like, are we targeting the developers? Are we targeting, the who gonna use the product? So let us like explain it once and for all.
I think if I give, I don't say, I would say a raving review of developer first now, my marketing would be very unhappy with me. But when you use a system like Storyblok, I always say you won't be successful without the developer. So you can sign up for a headless content management system. You can maybe click together your first prototype, but as soon as you would like to change something, as soon as you would like to have a custom front end, as soon as you would like to make adaptations to the system, you need a developer for it. And therefore, we need to think in a developer first kind of way, where we try to create a very good developer experience to make it very easy for developers to work with this system. Afterwards, of course, the system, in our case, the admin interface also needs to be easy to use for people who are not day-to-day developers, for people who are on the content production side, for people who are on the in a design team. We try to build a system that makes developers and marketers happy, and try to combine both worlds into one system. So I would not really say that we are completely developer first, but we have a huge emphasis on creating a great developer experience.
Yeah, I like that, honestly, Sebastian. Like, it couldn't be explained in a better way. I'm really glad you did it once for all. And no, I don't think even marketing will be upset with what you said. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's always about the messaging, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know where you're coming from, of course. So, Sebastian, in your experience, um, we hear also something about an engineering leader who can create unfair advantages, right? So what is the secret sauce for really having a team with unfair advantages, especially when innovating in the developer workflows?
Oh my God, that's complicated.
Oh,
So,
I didn't plan to do that.
uh, so what gives us unfair advantages? I think in newer days or in the last year, everyone who gets acquainted with AI systems is gaining an unfair advantage. So I would say I would describe myself as someone who is quite critical when it comes to AI systems, to vibe coding, to having code automatically generated and so on. But I absolutely see the benefits of using these systems to become faster, having more output, being less heavy on the writing code side and a little bit more on the let's build a proper architecture, yet let's do proper reviews and so on side. So I think that's one thing where you can generate a really unfair advantage. When it comes to company and company setup, giving your developers some time to play around with new developments, I think is also a pretty good way of generating this advantage. Trying out the new things is not always on the agenda for many companies. And if you give time to do that, you will see really, really nice outcomes. And we are doing that at Storyblok on a regular basis. And the results are really, really interesting.
Sebastian, you mentioned vibe coding. It was very
Yeah.
interesting because my next question to you was about AI, right? So so when do you think is the right time to adopt like these new technologies and decide like, okay, I can put it in my engineering workflow, and what are
Mm.
like some of the things which we should avoid also as well?
From my experience, what we are seeing right now is vibe coding is really cool when building the first prototype. So you have an idea, you would like to make it a little bit more tangible, you would like to show it to the developers who need to productize it. You need to, I don't know, get buy-in from different teams. Maybe even have already something to show to your product marketing team that they can later that they have an easier time understanding the product or the feature that you're building. I think their vibe coding is you can use that today, and there are plenty of systems that will support you, and that works pretty well. We have also had really good. Sorry, you want
No, go
to
ahead.
say something?
No, go ahead.
We have also seen pretty good results in product development, but you need to be much more careful to not generate code that you don't want to have in the product. So then generation becomes pretty fast, but you need to review, cut down, change what has been generated and so on to make sure that only things that you really want to have in your product get into your product, and to make sure that it also stays maintainable, because otherwise I would not that confident with having a stable product for a very long time. And one thing that we are trying out at the moment that is also quite interesting, feeding your code into a LLM, and then do bug hunting with it. So you can feed a bug description into the system, and it will tell you at what points you need to look to find where something goes wrong. And that's also quite nice and quite interesting, I would say.
Yeah, and indeed, it's interesting, and my, of course, you can imagine I have a lot of VP engineering CTOs on the show, so everyone talks, but the first time about the bug hunting, this is a new term. I think it should be copyrighted against you instead. So there is something also because I don't come from that background. Like I was techie guy at some point in my career, but I always like to discuss the DevOps, right? And some people, they think that I am really into this, and they start to tell me few words and jargons. And one of the things that always came is, they say, "Oh, we have like this complexity creep," and I say, "Okay,
I
what is?"
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, "Okay, of course." I had to sit with them, understand it one by one
Yeah.
because I have the infrastructure background, so I can relate to few things. But what is the complexity creep? And like how do we succeed as engineering leaders in keeping the architecture both scalable and agile at the same time?
Complicated questions. So
Oh no,
I,
not again.
I mean, I have to agree. I also really like DevOps and working on infrastructure. It's also the background that I'm coming from. So in my past, I ran multiple I wouldn't say server farms, but products that had already quite some scale. And I think what you say with complexity creep described very well what happens when you would like to scale a system. And for me, one really great example is going from Docker, which is one container on one computer, to systems where you want to run Docker or containers on multiple computers, to what Kubernetes is doing today. Kubernetes is a really great system, but it has become very, very complex to run and also very complex to understand when something is
Hmm.
falling over. So I'm always very hesitant with using such a complex system for a, let's say, simple application that only needs, I don't know, 2 or 3 servers. There is no Kubernetes needed, for example. When you run a huge system that has millions of requests per day, yes, of course, it is okay to use Kubernetes. But many of our colleagues are using very complex systems because they can, or because it is mentioned on podcasts that Kubernetes is the great thing.
Hmm.
Um, and run small workloads on such complex systems. And then, yes, there is complexity creep, and yes, it is super hard to run that. And then you spend more time on fixing your infrastructure, on keeping your infrastructure running, than time you spend on making your product better and providing something meaningful to your customers. But I have similar problems with development at some points, because, for example, one recent example is authentication systems.
Right.
So you have the authentication system. You would like to authenticate API requests. You would like to support SSO. You would like to support hardware dongles, for example. And suddenly you have a really complex authentication system, and you need to somehow dissect that and make it work in ways that work for your product and that are also in line with what your customers expect. And luckily, there are many companies now that help with that, but it can become
Right.
quite complex to run that.
Right. Now, I gotta ask you something, which feel free to give me examples from what you're doing today at Storyblok. So, one thing I hear also from engineering leaders and tech leaders in general
Mhm.
is about not only building for today but building for also tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
um and make sure that, of course, the agile and all this, and keep taking the user experience, but how this is done in a real case scenario. And of course, like your current role, maybe you can explain like how we make sure that what we're building for today is also buildable for tomorrow, or gonna still apply for tomorrow.
Hmm. That's a topic about balance, I would say. So
Hmm.
there are many things that can be built in ways that work today and work for today's workload and for today's requirement, and don't necessarily need to scale to tomorrow's problems, because you don't know if tomorrow's problems will really become a reality. So that's, for example, the case when you build a small application that has a few hundred users, and you already run it on a huge cluster, and you are ready to scale it to 100,000 users, but you never get to 100,000 users. So I would say be very cautious with doing that. The other topic is having tomorrow in mind when it really matters. So, for example, and now we are back to the headless CMS world. Leave options open to make decisions when they are needed. What I mean with that, what I said before, headless systems allow you to make a decision in 2 years' time when there is, for example, a new front-end framework. Don't over-optimize your APIs already on day one, but maybe have in mind to run it on systems like AWS, where you can add a caching layer in front of it, where you have support in form of API gateways to route traffic to a different system that maybe is able to process more of the requests, stuff like that. So I would say when thinking about tomorrow, then I would go with leave decisions open, leave your path open, so that you can decide tomorrow, next week, or maybe in a year how you would like to solve the problem.
Great. Now, one of the things that I always ask my guests on the podcast, Sebastian, is to give us like some real world examples of how they affected their customers. So, any stories you can share, from from customer success you had with the Storyblok.
We had yesterday a webinar with Damen Shipyards, and Damen Shipyards is a ship construction company that is now over 90 years old, and they were running for a long time on a monolithic system, and decided at some point to bring in a partner agency, and with this partner agency they moved to a headless system. So what they did is they completely replaced their monolithic CMS with Storyblok, a headless search system. I think the front end was at the end hosted on Azure Cloud. It was implemented using Angular, and they were using all the new technology that is out there. And one of the coolest findings of all of that was they not only spent a lot less on licenses, but they also saved 75% on hosting costs.
Wow.
And the person from the agency mentioned they did not increase the budget because they were not so lucky to get a bigger budget, but they were able to work more on customer experience, on the website, on features, because they had the money available from less cost from hosting and less cost from licenses. And I think this is something that was, in my opinion, a very nice impact that Storyblok, a headless system, had, because at the end of the day, Damen Shipyards probably has now more customers or a better customer experience because they don't spend so much money on legacy systems. And I think that's a good impact.
Love to hear these stories. I work as a they still call them this way, sales engineers or pre-sales consultants. And this is the dream, right? So you go and of course the sales guy, I work as sales rep also as well, but I mean still, like the dream is to go and be able to present like these numbers, like saving money, saving time. One of the, I believe, underrated, especially, I mean, if they have to deal with other businesses or consumers, is the user experience. Like, for example, like instead of doing a sign up form in 8 steps, now we can do it in 2 steps, right?
Yeah.
So it's saving time, I know, but again, it's the user experience. We say, wow, like these guys, they really know what they're doing. So I love hearing these stories.
If you get the sign up flow from 8 steps down to two steps, I promise you that you will have I don't know, a lot more customers who really finish to the end. So that's also very positive business impact then.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, do you see AI and automation also shaping the way developers build and manage like the content workflows, Sebastian?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but we have a lot in this
First week of
area.
October.
Yeah, perfect. Then we have a lot of topics lined up on October 14, when our conference is going to happen in Amsterdam, and
Nice.
we are going to launch topic products around that area, around AI, around automation, and so on. So yes, I'm convinced that automation and AI will shape the content production topic a lot, and we will be at the forefront of these developments.
Cool. Again, I asked VP of engineering, these questions. So there are two teams which, well, I was on the other side of the
Yeah.
table. So that I had two favorite teams, which are not like pretty much, I would say, customer facing. One is
Mhm.
the engineering team, and the other one is the product team, right? So uh, I used to give them hard time uh, because yeah, I'm in the field and I'm taking what's there, but I yeah, you want to say something?
That's absolutely fine, as solution engineers, as more customer facing, to give them a hard time because they need to understand what the customer really wants. I know that sometimes there is a very how to say that, isolated
Hmm.
perception of what is
Right.
needed, and it's super important to have solution engineers who come back from the field and tell you, hey, it's great what you are planning, but no one out there is asking for it. We need something completely different.
Yeah, and there was a saying among us, like we used to say, like once you are an SE, you are always an SE, even if
Yeah.
you change. So for you can see even till now, I'm passionate about that. Yeah, but the reason I came to this is because this puts also developers under pressure, right? And always, especially now, competition is fierce, so we need to deliver faster with fewer resources. How do you keep the motivation in the team and manage this pressure in a way that it doesn't become like something toxic on your team?
Um, yeah, I think that's a really good question, and it's not always easy to keep everything positive, especially when you have promised a delivery date and you're already behind. And yeah, it's not always easy. We at Storyblok have adopted the Shape Up methodology for running our development cycles. That was introduced by 37 Signals, and in fact, it's about working 6 weeks on implementation and then a 2 week cool down period. And in this 6 weeks, at the beginning, there is a specification that is being shaped beforehand, and then the team is evaluating and trying out to implement as much as possible from the specification. So if it can be that the whole feature is implemented in this cycle. It can also be that multiple features are implemented in the cycle, or that it's only a sub part of a feature that can be implemented in the cycle. And with that, we have a little bit, I would say, less stress than with the traditional Scrum methodology. We have a little bit less meetings. Um, the teams need to be more self-organizing, in my opinion, because managing a 6 week period is not as easy as managing 2 or 3 weeks. But on the other hand, you have the benefit of the cool down period, where you also can step back, look into bug fixes, maybe finish the security training that you are supposed to finish, do a little bit of e-learning, trainings, and so on. And with that, we try to keep the teams stable and not completely overwhelm them with all the things that are coming in terms of bugs, feature requests, customer is asking for something, and at the same time, we need to introduce AI to everyone.
That's great, Sebastian. And one also question that I always ask our VP of engineering is how engineers can develop their skills to become leaders in that space.
Oh, complicated. I would say everyone should be good at their craft. So programming is a craft, and you need to be good at that. And then you have different angles where you can add more. So you can either go in the deeper in the area of infrastructure, DevOps, and learn more in that area. You can go more into management, so getting better at running projects, handling projects, partitioning projects into smaller pieces, and then help the team executing faster. I think these are the obvious things that people can do to become better. I also highly recommend looking from time to time into new stuff. So Rust right now is a really hot topic for everyone. So I enjoy reading about that a lot, and it's super interesting because it's a high performant environment that you can, for example, also use for infrastructure implementation. So it's pendant for Golang. So something that is really fast and can help you serve many requests in a really short amount of time. So yeah, there are always things to discover, and I think everyone who is grown up with a technical mindset will find something that is of interest to look into.
Absolutely. I always tell people, maybe it's not a secret, but whatever you want to become, especially in our domain, which is the tech space, you need to keep learning and keep eye on the latest trends. I know it's not easy. Sometimes maybe you would agree with me, Sebastian. Like especially in the past 2 years or so, every day we have something new. Especially I know MCPs, like I don't know, like vibe coding, and
Yeah.
So I know it's hard.
It's quite interesting because we had this joke, I would say 5 years ago, that there is a new JavaScript framework every other
Oh
day, and
yeah, I
you need to
remember.
learn the latest framework and so on. And it was really fast paced when you built websites or when you were working on web applications. So you always had to be up to date with the latest and greatest. And I think that has changed a little bit because the number of
I'm not
new
seeing that.
JavaScript frameworks has declined, in my opinion. So it's stable now with Next.js, Nuxt.js, and also the hosting providers are quite settled, I would say. But now you have this new challenge of keeping up with all the new terms in AI. So what is an MCP? Do I need to build an MCP to be up to date? Can I just plug in somewhere and everything works out of the box? And there are 7 new companies who are providing me with MCP services now. So it's super interesting and very fast paced.
Yeah, interesting. To your point, just you reminded me because at some stage I haven't been a developer, but I
Mhm.
was like to learn, right? So anything I can put my hands on, yeah, let me try to do it. And one of the things that let me really not like to be in this space is the amount of frameworks that they used to come,
Yes.
especially because everyone was telling me you should learn JavaScript. Of course, I know the basic things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to use a framework. And then I go to the internet and I look, oh my God, like there are like hundreds
Mhm.
and hundreds of these, and which one is good? And like I think this is something in tech. I'm not sure what's your point of view, Sebastian. It's a good question that came now to my mind. We see this kind of, and it's, I think it's a human nature, but
Hmm?
like, let's take JavaScript, and I hope I will not get someone angry now. But
Someone is definitely offended. No worries.
yeah, because if I do the programming language, that will be more fierce, at least. But yeah, like you should use Angular, and someone would tell me,
Uh,
no, you should go and use the Vue. And I try to understand, guys, like for me, as of course I understand coding because I learned it at school, and I do some scripting, for my service and this in Python and all this, so I can relate. But why it matters? And everyone's telling me, yeah, because they did this, and I said, you're not convincing me. You're just talking too much jargons, and of course, people use. But really, Sebastian, how to be agnostic? Really, especially when you are a leader, I believe this becomes a mandate kind of you to to keep changing. And we talked about like building for tomorrow, so
uh,
how to disattach the what you call it, the actual what I like from what is good for the business or good for the use case that I'm using.
that's an excellent question and really
Thank you.
hard to answer. Um, I think it's again about balance. So I mean, from my point of view, it's also very complicated because when the team comes to me and says, "Hey, we need to use this new framework," I need to make sure that this framework is going to stay for a longer period of time. So the normal reaction is choose something that is well established and already used by a big group, so that it will stay relevant for a long amount of time, so that we are not fighting with outdated libraries, for example, in a year, or that we have to rewrite the whole product because we our bet was on the wrong framework. And that's a real topic. So at Storyblok, for example, we have chosen in the backend Ruby,
Hmm.
which is I'm quite okay with that choice. That works quite well for us. And in the front end, we use Vue.js because it's not as strict and allows us um, to build how to say that, a modular front end. Now, 100 people will tell me, "Hey, you can do that also with this and this and this." It is our choice, and it was our choice, and I'm quite okay with it because both technologies are still relevant, and I'm not fighting with outdated libraries. We could have probably also built it with different tooling, and it would also be successful. At the end of the day, you need to build features that your customers want to buy, and most of them don't care what underlying technology you have. The technology should just not get into your way. So if you need to bend your technology in weird ways to make something happen, you know that something is probably wrong, and you need to change technology somewhere.
Absolutely, I like this approach, Sebastian. um Yeah, because again, I relate
Mm,
to people I met. I relate to myself also as well. By the way, it's not only for choosing the libraries or the language,
uh,
or even the frameworks. It applies, like even because I was more into the infra space. Also people get sometimes like biased by special brands or they're, you know how it goes.
it's absolutely fine when you understand, for example, that using a certain brand for hosting has certain caveats, has
Right,
certain logins that you need to overcome when you would like to change, then everything is fine. When it's a big problem when you build on top of services of a certain brand, and then you realize you can't move to a different service anymore because that just doesn't exist there. And then it
right.
becomes a little bit problematic, I would say.
And I think this relates to what you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about keep up to date with what's going on, because you
Yes.
need, when you design your systems, like, yeah, see where people are going, how trends might shift or change directions, right? So it's absolutely something very, very important. In my humble opinion, I'm not anywhere expert like you, Sebastian, but I mean from logical perspective.
And I'm repeating the outdated libraries because that's a real topic. So when you get into a certain size and you need to, for example, have a security certification. For example, we have ISO 27001 certification. You need to prove that your libraries are up to date, that you have a process in place that will check on a regular basis that your libraries are updated, and when you find an outdated library, what you do about it. And these are then the things that become really time consuming when you need to change or rebuild your system because you can't comply with your security framework anymore. And there it becomes really, really costly when you choose something exotic that seems great today, but is not maintained in 3 weeks' time. And I'm
Absolutely.
exaggerating.
Absolutely. Well, Sebastian, the time flew, and I could continue this for hours and hours with you. Really, I'm enjoying the conversation. So, as we're coming to an end, any final, maybe advice, words you want to share with the audience, and of course, where people can get in touch and know more about you and about Storyblok.
So yeah, Storyblok you can find on storyblok.com. You can send me an email at sg@storyblok.com or connect on LinkedIn and other services. Final word, I would say stay curious and try out what is out there. But when you are responsible for building a bigger system that should be running for a longer period of time, maybe be a little bit more on the conservative side and don't pick the new and shiny, but build it in a way that is sustainable, that can also be used in the future, and always leave yourself the path open to change and to adapt, so that you are not building yourself into a corner.
Great advice. And again, Sebastian, thank you very, very much. I know as a leader for an engineering team, how busy it can get. So thank you for giving me the time today. I appreciate, also all the information you shared with us, especially, the tips and hints you gave. These are like priceless, I call them. So thank you for that. And, I tell the audience you can find every single link or like reference that Sebastian
Perfect.
mentioned in the show notes. So you don't need to go and look for that. They will be available in the show notes if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find them in the description. And this is how I end my episodes. Usually, this is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. Give me a favor, subscribe, and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming again and again, thank you for all the support, for the feedback. Thank you for making the podcast trending, week after week after week in different countries in the top 200 Apple Podcast chart. I really appreciate this. Thank you for the support also on the launch of the book on Amazon, From Nowhere to Next, which is now available. I couldn't thank you enough. And as I say, always stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.